Everybody, thank you so much for being here today. We are excited. I'm joined by an all-star cast, as you guys can see here. We've got some heavy hitters on the call today for our last episode of this webinar series. We're going to be talking about IQ Lock. But before I turn the time over to these knowledgeable men here, we're going to take care of some housekeeping items. So first and foremost, want to let everybody know that this webinar is being recorded. So if you got to step out early or a coworker wasn't able to make it, just make sure you go to our Qualsys YouTube channel. Later today, that will be uploaded and you can go back and reference it. Next item I want to take care of. If you guys will go in to GoToWebinar, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. We want you to get familiar with the platform. If you're a veteran, welcome as well. But want to call attention to some of the handouts that we have here in the GoToWebinar panel. We have an IQ Lock spec sheet. We have an IQ Lock end user sales flyer, and then we have an IQ Lock end user upgrade flyer. So just kind of some flyers that we've created for you guys to use. And I'll talk a little bit more about those handouts when we do one of our poll questions here. Next thing we want to let you know is we have some phenomenal TAM team members in the background answering questions. So find that question section, drop your questions in. We want this to be interactive. If you guys have a question, please don't be shy. Jump in there and drop your questions in. If we get a bunch of questions and the TAMs can't manage it, we will follow up on those questions. So please ask those questions. And I want to just before we get started, drop in the question section where you're calling in from. Want to call some of you guys out. We did have Brett, Frank, and Bill before the webinar even started let us know they were calling in. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for being on top of things. Just going down the list here, we've got Jason from South Dakota. Welcome, Jason. Freddie in Atlanta. Oh, you guys are really going crazy now. Aaron from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We've got Kevin from Midland, Ontario. Lots of people in here. Wish I could shout you guys all out. Thanks for being here. We know you're busy individuals. We know you have a lot of things going on. We appreciate that you would take some time to be here with us today. So next thing we want to do is we want to roll some poll questions. So we've only got a couple of questions today. We ask you to just respond to these poll questions. Let us know your thoughts. It helps us understand where you guys are at so we can better kind of meet your needs. So first question we have for you guys is, what percentage of jobs are you installing door locks? Would you say it's from that 0 to 25%, or where else do you guys fit in that category? All right, give you guys just a couple more seconds to respond to that one. Great, thank you all so much for participating in that poll question. Next poll question, this is my favorite poll question. So I work on the dealer marketing team. So this question here is, would you like us to help you brand some of those IQ Lock marketing materials that we have in the chat? Yes or not yet. We can customize those to change the copy and the things that you guys need to meet your business. So just let us know if you would like that help at this time. Awesome, just another couple seconds here. Great. Okay, we'll wrap that poll question up. Thank you guys so much for participating in those poll questions. We really appreciate it. Last piece of housekeeping that we have here, we are giving away 5 IQ locks to 5 random winners. So all you have to do to qualify for that is stick around for the webinar. At the end of that, we'll download a report and generate 5 random names. And if you win, you'll receive an email from myself or one of my team members. So watch for that today or tomorrow to see if you are one of those lucky winners. All right, I've talked enough. I want these powerhouse heavy hitters to take over. Neil, Steve, Travis, I will turn the time over to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks. So Travis, you wanted to join us today, and as our special guest star, so it's all up to you, my friend.
Why, thank you. Thanks, special. I appreciate that, Neil. So, guys, I only wanted to join to kind of kick this off because the Power G lock has been a big passion of mine. Power G has been a passion of mine, and the reason specifically is because I've been around since we've launched Power G in North America, which was really first on the Neo panel back in 2014, and that's Power G is what made that panel great. We then we upped our entire intrusion device lines with Power G, door contacts, windows, smokes, carbons, all that stuff. It's what made those devices great. Then of course we partnered up with Qualsys, and IQ panel came along, and we put Power G in that, and it made that panel great. We designed a wired to wireless takeover module, hardwired to wireless module, and we've had them. The industry has had these wired to wireless modules everywhere. We took ours with Power G in it. We made it great. Then actually, not long after we launched that wired to wireless module, I was talking to a customer, and that module was taken off and just opening up some great opportunities. I hope you guys have all used the wired to wireless and Power G module. And one of my dealers said, I love this. I love the fact that it allowed me to put hardwired devices in a secondary building. He said, it's fantastic, but I can't put a lock out there and I can't put a light out. Can you put Power G in a lock? And that was about a year and a half ago. And, we've been looking at this for a long time. The start really wasn't about December of last year that we got deep into it and said, listen, if I could put Power G in a lock, we'll make that lock great. So that's what we've done. We're super close to launching it. We've hired guys like Steve Lubin to support it out there. A guy that knows his locks, and Neil Jones, of course, everyone knows him. And if we're going to make sure we launch a product that's great, we got to make sure it goes through Neil. So I'm going to pass it off to these guys right now, but we're going to keep on putting Power G and everything out there that we possibly can, and looking really forward to seeing these locks hit the market sometime in the next few weeks. All right, sir, take it away.
All right, well, we're going to get started, but first, I guess, a little birdie told me something. So one of my co-presenters, it's his birthday. So let's bury the TAM team in chat by wishing Steve happy birthday. So
all right,
happy birthday,
thank
brother.
you, thank you. Yeah, 95
right,
never
Steve,
looked so good.
You still look a day over 60. Anyway, Steve, why don't you tell us about some of the Power G features and specs of IQ Lock Power G?
So one of the specs that's phenomenal is 250 user codes. I know, not too sure how many household items people require it, but 250 codes is fantastic. Lock only codes, 4 to 8 digits. If you're locking security, it's 4 to 6 digits long. One of the features I really like is the 12 months of battery life you're gonna get. With about 10 throws per day, you're gonna get those 12 months, which is phenomenal. If you're living in Canada or anywhere that's really cold, that minus 35 rating to plus 65 is phenomenal. It'll work in probably 95% of all the environments, except for maybe in the Arctic Circle, but we'll get there one day too. All right, another feature I want to show that's not on here, but it's one of my favorites only because I'm very familiar with locks, is it's a small thing, but for your customers, they might enjoy it. If it's unlocked, as you can tell, it turns green. And if it locks, it turns red. It's a simple thing, but it's a beautiful visual indicator for your customers when they're coming home at night to actually have an idea of if it's locked or unlocked. Plus, of course, you've got your alarm.com app that can verify those things as well. But for me, that's a nice little feature.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's awesome. So we get a lot of questions about compatibility. So IQ Lock Power G works on what we'll call the IQ Panel 4 family of panels, or our one platform panels, right? So IQ Panel 4, IQ 4 Hub, and IQ 4 NS, which we talked about just a couple of weeks ago. So it requires firmware 4.4.0, 4.4, or higher. So 4.4 currently is scheduled to release the week of September 18th. So rest assured, the minute 4.4 is ready, we're going to release that. Locks are going to be shipping. All the pre-orders are going to be filled. We're definitely ready to launch. And then IQ Pro, which is also part of the one platform IQ 4 family of panels, requires 430N, and that's going to release roughly October, November. Is where we're looking for 430N to come out, and then those 4 panels will fully support the IQ Lock Power G, plus all the IQ automation devices, IQ Power G automation devices that Kevin and Gordy went through last week, and we know it just works, right? So, Steve, why don't you give us a little overview here?
Obviously, with Power G, range is not an issue. If you haven't seen it yet, you got to look at that epic video that was created by the panel here on the range of Power G. As we've mentioned before, 1.1 kilometers, 2 kilometers with repeaters if required. We've got it. ANSI Grade 2 certification, so it's a very sturdy, very good, well-built lock, easy to install. It only requires two dead bolts that go in the middle. You've got 2 screws for your latch, and you got 2 screws for your cover. So it's with the right person, it's maybe an under 10-minute install, but it changes the perspective of your clients' day-to-day lives. Reliability, obviously compared to your Wi-Fi or compared to Z-Wave, you can't beat Power G. We've got the distance and we've got the connectivity and attractive styling. It gives you a bit of a little bit of both styles, contemporary as well as traditional styles. So I enjoy both, and I think this will be a product people are gonna love. Next slide. So use cases, you know, I've done it 1,000 times, and I'll tell you, there's so many use cases, but these are some of the most utilized ones. If you look at the first house with the separated garage or separated shed, you know, with Z-Wave, you didn't have the distance to go across to your shed. You know, with Power G, you can put it on the shed, you can put it on the separated garage. It's not an issue anymore. You just have the application, you can do it. You know, the second picture, you're looking at latchkey kids. You know, I'm one of those individuals. I've got a daughter and I have a son, and one in university, one in college. They come home at different times of the day. I've got my spouse. She comes home at different times of the day. You know, you're getting the notifications every time you unlock the door, every time you open the door, you look at your phone, you're getting those notifications. And when a customer gets those type of notifications, they can't do anything else but be happy that they can quantify why they're spending X amount of dollars with you on a monthly basis, because they're getting information that's useful to them when their children come home, when their spouse come home. The next picture at the bottom is you see all those dogs there. And no, it's not my house. I don't have that many dogs or any dogs at all, but it's a picture of a person who could be a dog walker. So if you're a dog walker, and let's say you manage 50 dogs in an area, well, guess what? That means that person technically could have 50 keys to 50 homes. And the worst thing about it, which is a safety risk, is if they have the key to your home and they're your dog walker, they technically know when you're home. They technically know when you're not going to be home. So that poses as a security risk. Well, if they have one of our Power G locks on their home, they can schedule different times to come into your home. So you could say, you know what, dog walker, I only want you in my house between 9 to 12, Monday to Friday. You don't have access to my house on Saturday and Sunday, and between that time only. But not only that, when you open that door, I get the notification that the dog walker opened the door at 9 o'clock, picked up the dog, took little spot out for his walk, came back 2 hours later. So now you're getting also a bit of a access control. I always say affordable access control solution for a residential application. And then the last one there I like to point out is for rental units or for summer homes. You can imagine how that industry has blown up over the last few years by being able to being restricted on your travel. Now you have the ability to say, hey, if you're going to rent my home, here's your code. On Friday, it's code, you know, I have a customer who uses the day of their entry as their code. So you enter that in. So for example, today would be 8/31/2023 would be your code. They get into their home. It works until Sunday afternoon, and then that code disappears. So now you don't have to pay a maintenance person or a management person to go out there and grab the keys for you. And once again, everything gets transmitted back to your phone on your app, so you can see all these interactions.
Perfect. Yeah, very good explanation, RC. I mean, we're not going to spend too much time on the components. It's pretty straightforward. You know, it's everything you would expect to have, you know, inside a box, right? You've got keys, the assemblies, the latches, the screws, the mounting plates, you know, batteries, you know, everything you can think of. But Steve, I think you have something you really want to point out that you love about our lock.
Yeah, something I want to point out there. The one thing they did great is they included the rubber membrane that goes on the exterior and on the interior of the lock. It's great in the wintertime, keeps moisture out, as well as the cold weather. And in the summertime, same thing, keeps moisture out. So that's a small item, but it makes a big difference on a lock, especially if that's an area where you're losing some of your heat or your cooling.
Yeah, exactly. So handling, right? It's pretty straightforward. You know, when you first power up an IQ lock, it's automatically going to handle. It's going to determine if it's using a left or right calibrate, left or right configuration. So as soon as you put those batteries in, it's going to start its calibration process. If you don't hear it attempt a calibration, so if I, as a perfect example, I'm going to just pop a battery out of a lock here and I'm going to put it back in. This lock has already been used, so it is not going to calibrate, right? So it's just going to power up. It doesn't care. It doesn't need to calibrate. So we'll show you later, there is a reset procedure we're going to show you. So that's the one thing that we mentioned here. If you don't hear the lock attempt to calibrate itself, you need to perform a master reset. We even supply the tool to be able to master reset these. Again, super, super easy. There's literally anybody could do it. All right. So how to enroll a lock? It's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to take one of the batteries out of my lock here. It's pretty straightforward. It's very similar to what you would have seen last week with Kevin Gordy talking about lock enrollment or Power G automation enrollment. So first things first, and I think this is a key thing, enroll the device at its final install location. I know it's different. Steve, what's it like with Z-Wave?
So with Z-Wave, this is a big one for Power G, where with Z-Wave, you would have to enroll it by the panel first, and then after you've enrolled it by the panel, locate it to the destination you want, and then possibly have to enroll it again. So with Power G, it's wonderful. Your final install location, you install the lock, and then you learn it in or enroll it into the system. It's one less step that you have to worry about, but it's one less step it's going to work.
Exactly. All right, so it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to hopefully switch over to Visor and do this live. Very simple to do, just like, enrolling any kind of Power G device, and as a reminder, Kevin and Gordy showed you this last week. There is a new section. So, you would follow the same thing: settings, advanced settings, installation, devices, and then this is where it changes, right? So currently, you enroll something like a Power G sensor, you enroll it through here. We now have this new automation icon, right? So you're going to go into automation and auto learn device. Really that simple. So what's going to happen is I'm going to drop the battery in. It's going to take about 4 or 5 seconds, sometimes, maybe 7 seconds. And it's going to pop up on the screen. Right now, it's just kind of doing its negotiation. Here we go, right? We want to auto learn a Power G sensor. This is the sensor ID. I can see that's on the back of the lock. This should not be here. I had taken this off. But what we've done, this is a feature that actually Alarm.com is going to integrate. Basically, the contact and the door lock can be virtually tied together, right? So you can have a setting that's saying, when my front door closes, lock the door, right? And it'll do it automatically, right? One thing I think was brilliant that our team did when we were designing the lock, anybody who's used a relock setting on a Z-Wave lock previously, it's a bunch of dip switches. You got to, do all this stuff. We just put it in the panel. It just made sense, right? Enroll it. You can choose 30, 60, 120, 180 seconds, or disable if you don't want it to auto relock. But you have that flexibility. If you don't want the door to enunciate, you can turn the volume on or off so it doesn't make any noise when the door is locking. Again, this feature, sorry, it's there. It shouldn't be. But that will be an Alarm.com feature where they virtually tie those two devices in together. Steve, you got anything you want to add to that, or did I cover it?
So that's a great feature that's going to be working. I can tell you hundreds of times where it's auto locked. Somebody closes the door, and all of a sudden you're damaging your latch, or you're damaging the frame to the door. But what's really nice is there's another feature in there that was the pin. Now, being able to add the pin there, or a lockdown feature, basically locking that device down to that specific panel or to your specific dealer, so that device cannot be just taken over. So that's another great feature that we've added onto our Power G IQ lock.
Yep, right there. PIN code is optional. You don't have to put it in. And we will say if you enter it wrong, your lock will not work. And you'll have to master reset your lock. Delete it, obviously, re-enroll and master reset it, but you will be able to fix it if you enter the PIN code wrong. Okay, so, everybody knows how to create user codes in alarm.com, right? Not rocket science. Select users, create a new user, or edit an existing user. You'll see the lock show up as an option, and the user code must be assigned to the, for lock access, right? So pretty straightforward. One thing that is a little different is using scenes and triggers. So at launch, the way we create rules on the ADC interface is slightly different. It's just due to encryption security requirements for our PowerG automation devices. So it is expected by the end of 2023, you'll have the ability to do it the way you've always done it, or, using scenes and triggers. I've never been a scenes guy. I fully admit it. I've always been just rules. But as we've been playing around with scenes, I've definitely started to see, we'll say the dark side here. Scenes are pretty cool. And it actually requires less clicks to do multiple things than you would normally have to do, right? So, we're going to talk about, Steve's going to kind of walk through what this looks like, and then, we'll do it live just to show you.
Yeah. So pretty straightforward. This is one of them. Unlock a door, disarm the system. You're going to go into the lock, select the lock you want to use. In this case, we're using the front door. We're going to then select a scene, which is going to be the home scene. So every time we unlock the door, it's going to run that home scene and disarm the system. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. And then the exact same opposite. Opposite.
That is correct. The exact same opposite. Same thing. You unlock the front door. You want to run the away scene, so now it puts it in the away mode for arming, and away you go. And of course, it has its timer. And I'll let Neil show it live.
Yeah. So we'll do one live here. So this is my one of my demo accounts. Right. It's so beyond easy. Like I said, I don't know why I was never a scene guy. So if I go into automation and I go to scenes, we already have the standard 4 scenes that ADC has: home, away, sleep, wake up. And then I created some custom ones just for fun, right? So I have an unlock. So when I unlock something, I want the panel to disarm and turn my lights on, right? Very, very, it's super easy. It's one click. Same thing, lock door and turn the lights off. So I'm going to create a rule. Excuse me. And it's going to make it really easy. You're going to hit New Rules Builder. I love the New Rules Builder. Of course, anytime you do anything live, right? Now it wants the timeout, but there we go. So it's going to be super easy, right? I'm going to have a rule that says when I lock my front door, I want to run a scene, and I'm going to say I want to lock the door and turn my lights off. It's really that simple. Right? Done. Call it whatever. Let's say lock and lights off. Super easy. Save. That rule is now active. So when my front door is locked, it's to run a scene that says, turn my system on and turn my lights off. Right? It's really that simple. You can just do, just whatever you want using scenes. And again, it's very flexible. And you can create a scene super easy, right? So if you wanted to, you could call it whatever, we'll call it test. I want it to, I don't know, arm my system state, turn this light off, turn this light on, turn my PowerG light off. Right? That really, it's literally that simple. And then I just create a trigger that is going to hit that test, right? So very, very straightforward. A little different again. But I think as people start to play around with scenes and the triggers, I think a lot more people are going to use scenes than previously. That's just my 2 cents. All right, so we've done that. So Steve's going to go through some simple troubleshooting stuff, and we'll take it from there.
So troubleshooting, if in one situation the lock was paired as a security sensor, pretty straightforward. Go into it, delete the lock, and enroll it into the automation device aspect. As you've seen before or earlier, it's now with the 4.4 software, you'll have an actual automation icon, and that's where you're going to enroll the devices. Lock was paired as an automation device, but the PIN code was entered incorrectly. Very similar, delete the lock, enroll it as an automation device, and leave the PIN code blank and enter the correct 8-pin code. And obviously you'll get back in there and be able to correct it. Sticker above the battery compartment is where you're gonna find it on the lock. If you look at that diagram, you'll see it right above there. So everything's there for you. Lock may not be handing left or right for operation. And just for anybody who's not familiar with handing, handing is basically letting the lock know if it's on a right-handed door or a left-handed door, so that the deadbolt will know which direction to throw. So it's very important. It's probably the last thing you'll do when you install an electronic deadbolt is make sure the handing is correct. So if it's not handing correctly, or it didn't hand previously because it might have been installed on another door in the house, and maybe the customer says, hey, I want to relocate it to my garage. Well, the handing could be incorrect based on that. So what you would do is you delete the lock, go into the settings. And then from that point, you would go into, if you wanted to, you would insert the reset tool in the back of the lock, hold it down for 5 seconds. You would hear a loud beep, and then it would recalibrate or rehand for the left or right sided door. And you'll see the deadbolt being thrown several times until it's set in its correct position.
Yep. All right, and we said we would show you how to master reset a lock. So it's very, very difficult. We'll say that. Okay, so first things first, one thing I love about our lock, there's no screws, there's no weird thing to get into the back of this. You literally slide it up, slide it down, really that simple. So if you need to master reset a lock, we've removed the battery cover. There's a little hole right here that just says reset. You just put your reset tool in there and hold it for 5 seconds. I know, really difficult, eh? And then it'll beep. It just beeps. And then you'll actually see it'll start handling itself, what we were talking about, right? So you can actually see the handle is trying to handle itself, and then it'll go into a lock position as soon as it's done. And it knows what it is. That easy. It knows that's now its proper position, locks and unlocks. You'll notice, to Steve's point, you've got the red light, green light here, but you also have it on the back too. You have, red, locked, green, unlocked, right? So you're going to be able to see the LED from the inside, when the lock is changing state, and you're going to see it from the outside as well. Turning red, green. Really that simple. That's really,
And just to add, you can see how fast that deadbolt throws and how quiet it is as well. If you've used locks before, you understand that's a big deal, having a fast throw and a very quiet lock.
Yep, and that's one of the things when Travis first brought up the locks, and we got whatever it was here, it was brutal. And we put the lock in, on my detached garage, unheated. There was frost on it, and the thing was still working flawlessly, smooth, quiet. The motor is not nearly as loud as the other guy's locks, but it's not as loud. It's definitely, I think people are going to really love IQ Lock Power G. So, any questions in chat that we haven't addressed or anybody wants to ask? What's going on back there? We just covered everything.
I've seen a lot of questions. It looked like most of them have been getting answered.
All right. And I like to say, add one more thing to it too. When it comes to automation, and you're using a lock, and our lock specifically, always remember it's one of the last things a person sees when they leave their home, and it's the first thing they see when they come home. It's one of the only devices, I guarantee you, if they live in that house or in that home or that residence, they'll be touching it every day. And in doing so, it creates the information that they'll be able to find useful on their app. Like I said earlier, when your family comes home, you have a friend, you have a service person, you have a dog walker, whatever the case is, you're going to get that indication that, hey, you know what? There's somebody at my front door. There's somebody coming to my house. And 99% of the time, that's what quantifies your customer and saying, hey, you know what? I believe in this product, and there's value in it because I see something happening every day.
You nailed it. You nailed it. And just not having to have keys in your pocket is such a big thing. I'm a key-free guy now, and it's nice, when you go to your back door and it's locked, and you're like, oh, I just enter my code. And now you can do your back door because we have the range to get there. You don't have to mess with building a Z-Wave bridge or whatnot. So, you know, you guys can not only have the convenience of this, but you can actually sell more locks. When your customer wants that secondary building or garage or shed or pool house or even back door in a large house, now you can say, yeah, we can do that. And you don't have to get into that mess of trying to build a Z-Wave mesh network. So we're extremely excited about this September 18th date. I think every one of our major distributor partners have significantly sized pre-orders in place. So we're ready to ship once 4.4 releases. And I know a lot of you dealers already have orders in with them. So we do encourage you to get your orders in, call your distributor. They're carrying it, the part numbers are loaded. Get your orders in so you're right in front of that line once we start shipping.
Great, thank you, Travis. Steve, Neil, any last comments from you on your end, or you feel good?
We're good. I know you got one more poll you want to run,
Yeah.
so we won't take any more of your time.
Perfect. No, yeah, but thank you, Travis, Steve, Neil. Phenomenal stuff. We are so excited about IQ Lock. I'm so excited about this product. Really quick, last we'll do this poll and then do one more reminder on the giveaways. So after learning about IQ Lock today, do you need more technical training? Do you need more sales training? Is there something else you need? You can drop it in the chat, or are you guys ready to start offering this product to your customers?
Whoa, that ready to start offering this product to our customers is nice and high.
It is. Okay, we'll give you guys a couple more seconds to get your answers in here.
We can finally go the distance. Finally go the distance.
Exactly.
And if you haven't seen the epic videos, that was referenced, please go to our YouTube channel. Look for epic Power G video, and you'll see us literally go Canada to the US with Power G.
Crazy. Thank you guys so much. Last reminder, if you are one of the winners of the 5 IQ locks that we're giving away, we will be reaching out to you via email. Please get us your information as quickly as possible. Travis, Steve, Neil, thank you once again for the wisdom you've shared with us today. Thank you all for spending time with us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.